Stay tuned and let's take a look at this G.I. Joe classified series, Torpedo. Pow, and welcome back to the channel, Dan Who Reviews. As always, my name is Dan W. Make sure you are following me on Instagram at It's Dan Who, and remember you can hit that join button and become a channel member as well. Either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. Today we are taking a look at this G.I. Joe classified Torpedo. Now he is a part of the new wave that is being released sporadically over here in the UK. So I'm talking about Shipwrecked, Rock and Roll, and of course Copperhead, who also arrived today. So I will do a separate review for Copperhead. Today we're going to take a closer look at Edward Torpedo Leialoha, I think that's how you say his name. This is the first time we're getting this style box art. Again, it's plastic-free packaging, but I am hoping they bring the window back. But even still, this isn't bad at all. We get a digital render on the front with some Easter eggs in the background. The original art is still on the front here, but they also give us a breakdown of what accessories come with the figure on the front, which I actually like. And then the details and the name down here. The original art on that side as well as 73. Again, on this side, a QR code and 73. On the back, another digital render with a breakdown of his accessories and then some close-ups of the details on this actual figure. So no wave association with the G.I. Joes. So this is genuinely probably my most anticipated in this wave. I really like all the equipment here. Let's waste no time and get it open. Here we have Torpedo out of his cardboard prison with all of his accessories on the table, and it is nice to see a figure come with a decent amount of accessories. In the box you also get one of these little crates now with his name, Torpedo, and the number 73 in a nice black. These are just a little cardboard crate you can use to store and look after the accessories. That's a nice touch. The figure itself stands at just over 6 inches, to be honest. If I get the tape measure there, you can see just over 6 inches. And then all the accessories on the table. Here's a closer look. You get his snorkel, his little breathing apparatus, his 2 flippers, the regular rifle with an ammo clip, a little knife, a harpoon, and then his oxygen tank sort of backpack, which is nice to see. You know, one of my favorite things about Joe's is that you can display them, holstering and holding all of their accessories ready for battle. Now, Torpedo himself was part of the second wave of G.I. Joes back in 1983. He had a few re-releases over time, but his original look was always in this grey and black scuba gear. So let's waste no time. Let's put all this equipment on him. And there we have Seal, aka Torpedo, with all of his equipment on, decked out, ready for his mission, all ready for the display on the shelf. And as I said, that's what I love about Joe's. You can literally display them wearing and holding all of their equipment, and it makes complete sense. And this guy looks great. What a beautiful tribute to that original design. If I bring in an image of that original Torpedo from 1983, thanks to 3djoes.com, you can see I've tried to recreate that same pose just to show you how much of a good tribute it is, just brought into the sort of modern classified age. The color palette's virtually the same with the grays and blacks, and there's a few highlights of red as well. On the original figure, the oxygen tanks were red, but on this one, the flippers have got red highlights as well as some of the equipment. But it's just a modified, sort of updated version of that original Torpedo design. I think they've done a great job. This figure is completely pinless. The articulation is great. It's going to pose up really well. All the equipment sits on him seamlessly. No issues at all. Now you just need an aquarium to actually pose this guy properly and do him justice. Let's take a closer look. Starting off by taking a closer look at the head sculpt, so we can see the man behind the mask, and you can tell that Edward is from Hawaii, as he has a really nice tan, clearly spending all the time in the sun. And overall, the actual sculpt and the digital face printing tech is applied really well, especially when you think that Falcon was in the last G.I. Joe wave. This is so much better. So happy to report that Torpedo behind the mask looks really nice. The actual sort of suit as well is sculpted nicely around the face, nice and tight, so you can see his ears are compact in there as well. Bit of a glossy black as well, which would make sense for a swimsuit. But yeah, all in all, really good. There's a dumbbell in the neck and and in the head, so you get lots of range on the head, lots of swivel, look down, look up. But yeah, all in all, the head sculpt looks really good. We're just going to take a closer look at the rest of the details on this figure before we put his equipment on. This harness is a separate piece that sort of hides the butterfly joint, but the butterfly joint is definitely there. Bit of red there, bit of black there. On the back, you get the whole bit of backpack. Again, you get the greys and the blacks down to the bout piece here. This whole sort of crotch piece is one-sided rubber piece, so the bout's not a separate piece. You can see that's one piece. You get two harnesses, one for the knife, so that's where the knife will go, and then this one is just sort of ammo or whatnot, but they're both sort of there in a way to hide the thigh cut. Moving down to the feet, of course, there is a little swivel there on the boot cut, which I didn't even notice. And there's ankle pivot rocker, of course. Completely pinless, mind you. Double jointed pinless knees, double jointed pinless elbows. I'll show you them in a second. There is a ball joint at the waist as well as the crunch there. And then he has a little bit of equipment on the wrist, which is a nice detail. Probably telling him how deep he's going or how much oxygen he's got left. But I like those tiny little details. Both of his hands are trigger finger hands, and both of them have an up and down hinge as well, I think, as well. So you can hold that harpoon more accurately. But I do think this figure's got great range. We will take a closer look at all of the equipment on again in a second, but let me show you the articulation. So as I mentioned, there's a ball joint in the neck and in the head. The shoulders will go all the way up to 90, bicep swivel, and double jointed pinless elbows, mind you. And then underneath the harness pieces, which is a separate overlay, there is a butterfly joint. You can see it moving a little bit there as well. Butterfly joint, really nice. You've got a crunch there in the waist, so the crunch goes that far forward and really far back, virtually 90 back, which is crazy, but it will help with swimming poses. And then there's a ball joint in the sort of crotch, so that's where you're going to get a bit of tilt. You swivel, but then you add all of that together, you're going to be able to get them into some really nice poses. There's also drop down hips as well. As you can see, they drop down and go all the way up to 90 basically. You get double jointed pinless knees. Look at that. Can he kick his own ass? Yes, he can all day long. As I've already showed you, there's a cut there at the top of the boot for a bit of swivel, and then ankle pivot and rocker. Both of the trigger finger hands have up and down hinges in it. I just think this guy's got a lot of range. I can't wait to see what people actually do with this figure for photography and stuff. But he's going to look better with equipment on. Let's do that. Starting at the flippers, there's one I've prepared earlier. You can see that one came a little bit warped out the box, but some heat will sort that out. Now, the gimmick of the original 80s figure is that the flippers clipped on, but these are made of a softer plastic, so you got to use a bit more finesse. You got to slide his foot in there and then just get the heel to wrap around like so. So there you go, it hugs it nice and tight. Now we have Torpedo with his two flippers, and it doesn't hinder him standing. It actually helps him balance, if anything. Some nice sculpted detail on the front of these as well, with some red highlights, and yeah, they just hug the feet really well. And underneath there's even holes to have a figure stand or help him plug in somewhere, like a vehicle in the future, I hope. Maybe a canoe, who knows. But there you go, there we have his flippers. Next, let's do his oxygen tank, his backpack. So as you can see, there's a hole on the back of the figure, there's a peg on the back of the oxygen tank, and that literally plugs in there like so, and it hugs the back, no problem at all. Here we have his oxygen mask. As you can see, nice details on it with some cables sticking off. Now that goes over the head sculpt, no problem at all, seamlessly and nice and snug, as I've already showed. The cables that dangle off the back, if we spin around, you can see they actually have a little peg on, and then the backpack itself has those little holes, so you can plug his oxygen in, help the man breathe. So we have one on that side, another one over here that plugs into the hole there, and there you go, they both plug in there. And I thought I'd show you a close-up now that we have the oxygen mask on, and you can see there's some nice sculpted details on the sort of breathing operators there, and I like how his goggles are all steamed up and foggy, so you can't actually see the eyes or the man behind the mask. That sort of turns this figure into an army builder. You could have a whole team of Torpedo snorkelers now for your Joes, which is a nice touch. And you can see how tight it is on the face as well, as no skin tone is sort of leaking through on the side, so no oxygen is escaping that mask. And again, look how snugly it fits. I can just lift it up to reveal Edward behind the mask there. That can just sort of sit on the top of his face for display if you wanted to, but then the mask seamlessly comes back over, no problem at all. Nice and snugly sculpted to the face, really, really nicely done. And as I said, those cables now plug into the backpack. So quick comparison for you of your unmasked Torpedo versus your fully snorkeled Torpedo. As I said, potential army builder. On his side, we have a sheath for his knife. His little dagger is just a regular little dagger with like a maroon handle, and that will slide in there, no problem at all. And that's pretty loose, that can spin around, but it does hide the thigh cut, as I've already said, but that sits in there. But other than his harpoon, he does come with an extra gun, which the original figure didn't come with, which is just like a generic gun that has the ammo clip de-attached when you first get it. So you have to attach that yourself, of course, to complete the gun. And then, of course, to harness that, on the back of the actual backpack, there's a clip for the gun. So you can literally store the gun on the back of his oxygen tank, which is a really nice touch. As I said, I love that you can display these Joes with all of their weapons. And an accessory piece that did, of course, come with the original Torpedo figure is his harpoon. This is nicely done, just classified up, of course, with the chrome little end with some rope sort of wrapped around all the way down to the sort of trigger finger hand element. And then you've got a little bit of yellow rope that will go across the hand. Like so, you just wrap it around the hand, you get the trigger finger in there, and now he is holding and rocking his harpoon. And of course, he has his other gun as well, 2 trigger finger hands with the up and down hinges on, so you can display him double wielding his weapons, ready to chase someone down in the ocean. And if he spots Moby Dick, then he can still double hold the actual harpoon for a better grip and aim while he's swimming in the ocean. As I said, the articulation does allow for some decent poses. So yeah, I just need to go and run the bath or get an aquarium. One of the two. But yeah, this guy is looking great. Moving into comparisons, first up we have Duke and Beachhead, and as you can see, he scales perfectly. Next up, some of the ladies with Scarlet and Covergirl, and I still want an updated retro style Scarlet in the yellow one piece, please. Here we have some taller characters with Roadblock and Sergeant Slaughter. Here we have some bad guys with Deathstroke and Major Blood. Here we have the Baroness and Cobra Commander. Here we have some generic Cobra infantry soldiers. Here we have a little bit of action force love in case you wanted to blur the lines. So here we have Condor and a Delta Trooper. And yes, that absolutely works in scale if you wanted a scuba diver with your action force team. For no actual reason apart from being on a bit of an Indiana Jones Adventure series hype recently, here we have Indy himself and Tote, and if you wanted a scuba diver in that display for some reason, this would work. And of course, it wouldn't be Dan Who Reviews without some Marvel Legend love, so here we have some of the Who crew themselves with Frogman, Tigra and White Rabbit. And then of course, last but never least, here we have Captain Britain and Hal, Fire, Hank, who wants to go for a swim apparently. Final thoughts on this G.I. Joe classified series Torpedo. I think they have done a great job of paying tribute to that original Torpedo design, but bringing it up into the classified modern era. This Navy SEAL type of scuba diver look works so well in this lineup. It is a completely pinless figure with a great range of articulation. The accessories fit on him seamlessly and ultimately gives you a couple of posing options, as once you've got his goggles and mask on, it just looks like a generic scuba diver. You could have a whole squad of these guys for your Joes. I think this figure has stood up to its potential. Really nicely done. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think. I do apologize I didn't get in the bath for this review, but go and check out Jay's Toy Collection UK, as he did genuinely review this figure in the bath. I will put the link in the description below. But as I said, I'm tempted to buy an aquarium now, as I want to display him right, but you could still get him on a flight stand if you wanted to do something like that. But I will have to try and do something creative for the display. But as always, if you like what you see on this channel, then please, you can do one thing for me. You can please hit that subscribe button, hit all on the notification bell, don't miss out on a video, and please hit that join button, become a channel member, either show some love or join the members club. Much appreciated. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Dan Who. I'm on Twitter at Dan Who Reviews, but my name is Dan W, and I'll of course see you on the next one.